Okay. Good day,
everyone.
Welcome to
PBI Talk Show.
Okay. Well, this is actually a program that used to happen, right? Tata.
Yeah.
But we have taken some fake. Okay, and here with me, Azam Firdausi Rawan, as a host today, and my friend here.
Marshanda Aulia.
Okay, and we have a special guest that came far away from UK, Mr. Alex.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Marshanda. Hello, Sam. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah.
Really lovely to be here at UAD.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Good to see you, Mr. Alex.
Thank you.
You came from University Gloucester.
Yeah.
Gloucestershire.
University of Gloucestershire. And I know lots of people have difficulties pronouncing
Yes,
it.
it is.
I'm trying to pronounce it.
So in the UK, there are lots of different regions, a bit like the region of Yogyakarta,
I see.
and we call them shires. So in the you might have Gloucestershire, Leicestershire, Herefordshire, and so on. They're different areas, but we tend to locally pronounce them as shire. So it ends up being Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire. It sounds like Harry Potter or something, like magical.
Yeah.
Well, it is a bit like
sounds
Harry
great.
Potter. If you look at, if any of you want to look at the University of Gloucestershire,
Alright.
and look at some of the pictures, if you look at the ones of Francis Close Hall, that's where I work. It actually it does look exactly like a scene out of Harry Potter.
Wow.
It was the university was built in 1853. And it was originally set up as a teacher training college. So we've been training teachers there since 1853, and then later on it became a university, and the number of subjects studied expanded, and now we have 4 big faculties and 4 different campus sites. So it stretches right across Cheltenham and the city of Gloucester as well.
That was so.
That was so good.
Right.
That was so good. All right. Mr. Alex, I heard you came here
Yes.
by the program like student exchange or something, Mr. Alex.
So what happened was, I don't know if you know, but there's an organisation called the British Council.
Oh, yeah.
And the British Council fund different projects. They sometimes have a call that goes out, and different universities from different countries can apply to undertake different research, different mobility type schemes. And the one that I applied to with my colleagues at UAD was around special educational needs. It was more early childhood and inclusion.
Right.
So early childhood and inclusive education. And we worked together with your colleagues here at UAD, and we came up with a plan of what we would do. Would you like me to talk you through it?
Yeah,
Or-
it's
yeah,
I
it's
heard,
fine.
a couple months ago, I've accompanied one of our fellows from elementary schools education study program.
Yes.
And there were like five people there.
Yes.
And I've accompanied them to improve their English language,
Yes.
so they could go to UK.
So this specifically was to look at inclusive practice within education settings, and in particular special educational needs, because I think within Indonesia, but also within the UK, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of recognising young people who have extra additional needs and helping them in their educational environment, or if they have a particular disability. So myself and my colleague Maria Meredith, who unfortunately can't be with us this morning, so we've been doing a lot of work in that field, and in the education subject community that I work at within the university, we have a big focus on inclusion, and we work with around 290 partner schools in the region of Gloucestershire. So it's quite big. And what we did, we applied for some funding from the British Council, and then we engineered a specific program that's quite unusual, in that some of your students were able to come to the UK and visit us, and they spent a whole, probably about 9 days with us, which was really exciting. And then during a whole semester, so between September and December, we got the students to work together in a virtual space during a module that we call contemporary issues in education. Contemporary issues in education, and the students worked together virtually for 3 months, and then at the end of that we brought our students here, and that was last January, and we were so excited, and I loved it so much that I've come back for more.
Yo, speaking of education, Mr. Alex, may we know how schools there. I mean, in Indonesia we have phase A, phase B, phase 3. Like there were stages in curriculum in Indonesia, and we used curriculum Merdeka.
Yeah, it's called Curriculum Merdeka. So
Curriculum Merdeka.
the curriculum in Indonesia is like constantly changing based on the
regulation, I guess.
regulation. And for the stages in Indonesia, we have 4 stages of education. The first one called SD,
Elementary school.
Elementary school for young learners in between age 6 to 13.
Yes.
And then we have SMP, which is junior high school. It's for like 14 to
15
or 16. And then
senior high school.
Senior high school, it's for like 15 to
18.
And then college. Which is we are now.
we are currently in right now. And Mr. Alex, may we know the curriculum that
how it works in
how it works, the
stages. Okay, well, do you know one key thing that you've missed off that list? You started at age 6 in elementary, but you've missed off your early years and early childhood.
Yes, the TK one.
The TK, but sometimes some people say that it was not really, sometimes it's important, but they don't really talk much about earlier.
But in fact, it is really important.
It's very important.
And I'm glad you picked up on that, because I believe that the early years and early childhood education is actually the most important period of education.
Indeed.
And unfortunately, there is this paradox at the moment, and it's not just in Indonesia, it's in the UK as well, that we don't, for a whole range of historical reasons, gendered reasons, we don't take early years and early childhood education seriously enough. We don't respect it as a profession. The teachers working in that field tend to be treated as babysitters rather than specialised educators, which most of them are. And so I think we need a mind shift where we start to recognise that actually, if we get it right in the early years, and we give them that really strong foundation, that actually everything else will follow from that. I think at the moment we try and put in measures and interim measures when things go wrong later, too late. But if we start right at the start and build those relationships with those young people, build relationships with their parents as well, because of course education isn't just about the school and the school that the children go to. It's a holistic education is about that relationship between home and school. They're different home lives. There may be parents, there may be grandparents, there may be siblings. There's a whole lot of significant people in the child's life that you may need to think about working with.
You're right.
So which is that as we mentioned before, that the earliest childhood indeed is the most
important.
Official. The most important.
The most important one.
Phase. To build students' characteristic indeed. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the key things I think is that with young children, the importance of play is so important. And then suddenly, you get to age 6 and you go to, here in Indonesia, you were saying it's 6 to 13, and suddenly the play stops. And really, I think play is such an important part of education that we should continue with that play right the way through our education. Maybe different forms of play, but play is such an important part in the active process of learning and engagement.
Well, in UK, in like junior high school and senior high school, is there any play learning methods?
There are a lot more now than there used to be. You asked me about the different stages or the different. After once preschool, you have preschool, and then you would go into what we might call year 1, and year 1 up until year 6. That would be up until age 11, and then. Age 11, you would move on to the senior school, and that would be right the way through until we take exams at 16. They're called GCSEs, and then at 18, you can either a lot of people will do what's called advanced level or A-level studies, but there are also vocational paths. So it's not just academic. But there's much more opportunity to take vocational paths through things like, there used to be things called BTECs, that's now moving to T levels or technical levels, and those are also being accepted as routes into university.
I see.
So it's similar here in Indonesia, right?
It's
vocational.
Yeah, there's
We
vocational,
also
but
have
I see it different with Indonesians' education phase, Caca.
Yeah.
Because in my time, I've been taught like in serious way. I didn't have enough time to as you said, play fun and stuff. Well, I only had fun in the break time. Like,
Right.
With study, you have to be serious, and I get to be
we
punished,
barely
blah, blah, blah.
play during the in the classroom. So we just sit there, listen to the teacher, like reading the books, and then we get sleepy.
It's like monotonous.
Yeah.
Monotonous
Yeah.
thing.
I think that's very much a form of passive learning that I think we have tried to move away from in the curriculum in our teaching in the UK, away from a position where you have the teacher who knows everything and imparts their knowledge, and the student is an empty vessel just waiting to be filled up. Instead, we see it much more when we train our teachers now at the university. We try to train them in a way that they recognise that the importance of the co-creation of knowledge. So students are actually coming to us with different knowledges, different backgrounds, different understandings of the world, and what we try and do is find ways to celebrate the knowledges that they have, and find different activities, through active learning processes. We can try and bring out some of the sort of key topics that we're looking at. We can bring them to life in a way that you can't if you're just standing there talking about it. Because if you're actually learning by doing, that is arguably a much better way of learning, and it will stay with you, and the key things from that knowledge will then remain with you.
Speaking of schools activities, sir.
Yeah.
How long the schedule? I mean, how long does it
Hours.
take? Hours. How many hours?
Yeah.
The school happen in UK, sir?
In the day. Well, we usually start about 9 a.m. in the
9
morning.
a.m. Jack.
Yeah, it's late,
Here in
isn't
Indonesia,
it?
sometimes we start at 7 a.m., but sometimes some schools start at 6 a.m.
Even at 5,
Oh.
Jack.
Yeah,
At-
right.
Yeah, you know.
That
you
sounds
know
really hard.
Right, we have to wake up really early and then go to school.
And it's for junior high school, sir. It
Oh.
sounds depressing for me.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Yeah.
start from 5 until 3. What are you, man? Oh my god.
Sometimes we end our activity in school at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m.
Yeah, that's
in
Yeah,
Spain.
that's a long day.
Yeah.
And you know, that's also arguably, I don't know who's listening, but I'm hoping none of the lecturers are listening and just the students. But I do think that, 6 p.m. is, particularly with teenagers, because it's counterproductive with teenagers, because we know from the science that the physiognomy and the way that a young person's brain develops, they actually need more sleep. I mean, it's not just that they're lazy; they genuinely, physically need more sleep as their body gets through. So to make them start at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning is probably counterproductive.
Well, when I was in high school and my school started at 6 a.m. and sometimes my friends go early because their home is far away from school, and we sometimes fell asleep in the middle of the class.
Because it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned earlier from 9 until?
9 till usually about, if it's for the younger children, 3:15, and for the older children, maybe 3:45.
Ya, lumayan cukup singkat ya, Cak ya.
Wow, I'm envy.
Can I rewind my elementary school phase?
But then they do have homework afterwards,
Yeah.
and sometimes they can do that at, either at home, or they can stay. A lot of schools have after-school clubs. Particularly, I think when children are younger and their parents are working, that can be a real help to the parents, because that can be trying to get the work-life balance right is very difficult, and I think that goes for all parents everywhere, and I'm sure it's exactly the same in Indonesia, because you have a very young population.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, am I right in thinking that 45% of the population in Indonesia is under 30?
Is it?
Yes.
That's a very young population. Yeah.
A lot.
A lot of production as well.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned about inclusive education, Mr. Alex. Inclusive means we teach young students that have like some
Extra
different
needs.
some extra
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
Care.
Yes.
What
yes.
do you think about that, sir?
Well, it might be that I think we know more and more about the different types of neurodiversity that I mean, arguably all of us, every one of us, is on some form of need from
Right.
and I think it's about recognizing the diverse nature of those needs, and the more that we recognize the diversity, the better we are able to assist and something called differentiated learning, where we can work with students given that maybe that they have ADHD, or they might have dyslexia, for example. I mean, sometimes those things, dyslexia often doesn't get diagnosed until maybe a student's at university. It's very late. So I think that we've made lots of strides in the UK in terms of diagnosis, but I'm not sure yet. We haven't done enough research. I haven't done enough research with your colleagues yet to understand the whole of the Indonesian system. But it's something that we're hoping to do some research on. We have got some research projects in the pipeline.
This is interesting. You mentioned about differentiation.
Differentiation.
Method learning. Yeah, learning method. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chacha and Kaisha here. Wait, Kaisha. Yeah, Chacha and her colleague, which is
Yeah. So
they they've been doing research on that.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
We had
Yeah.
conducted research, like a simple research. Actually, this is a project for competition.
Oh, Mashanda, that's really good news. I'm so pleased to hear that.
Yeah. So we try to conduct research about differentiated learning.
Yeah.
But we starting off like from the smaller issues, like it's about that young learners, actually all of us, we have different learning styles.
Yes.
Like the audiovisual, visual, kinesthetic, and we try to
Oh, you're the expert here. That's brilliant. That's great.
we try to create learning environment where all the students can participate in the learning session by using their preferred learning styles. So we have prepared some activities for the students who are preferred the visual learning styles, and then the audio learning styles, and then the kinesthetics. We try to embrace all of those learning styles, and the result is quite good.
Oh, Mashanda, is there any way that that we can find out more about the work you've been doing as the students?
Yeah.
Because I think often we think it's just the lecturers that are doing all this great work, but actually it's the students who are really able to because you can focus in. You've got the time to focus in, maybe during during a thesis or dissertation. So I would love to hear more and know more about the results of the study.
Maybe we can have more talk about this with Kaisha.
Well, one of the things I would really be keen on doing is I told you earlier about the virtual learning that we've been doing, and we're going to continue that in September with some of the early childhood studies students. But what would be great is to get students in the UK from University of Gloucestershire and students at UAD from Muhammadiyah background, Muhammadiyah, to work together, maybe doing some research together. That would be fantastic.
That sounds good.
That would be my dream.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, sir. Now we're talking about mental health. It's still related to the topic before. This topic, has been talked a lot by a lot of people. Talk about this because it is a crucial thing to talk about as well. What do you think about that, sir? I mean, what happened in UK?
Yeah, I think it's a really big issue. It's a really big issue. My wife Hilary used to work at the Gloucestershire Hospital schoolroom. So we have schoolrooms within, and I did ask her when she was still working there. She's retired now, but I said, if there was one key issue, what would it be? And she said it would be, mental health. And I think that, we've seen an increasing rise across the UK and other countries in the incidence of mental health and the number of students that do need that extra support. I think it's important that we try and understand and recognise what some of the reasons for mental health issues are. They can stem from a range of things, from bullying, from social media. I think there is now these days. I mean, Generation Alpha as well.
Yeah.
They've grown up complete digital natives, and you're exposed to social media 24/7. It's very hard to get away from, and the screen time. I think I often think I was very blessed to be born in an era where we didn't have. We used to have telegrams. You won't remember. Even maybe your parents won't remember the telegrams where they used to. It was the dot dash, and you could send a message.
Bukan telegram yang
It's a device.
Yeah.
Beda telegram.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so old. We used to use smoke signals.
Bakar kayu dulu. Yeah.
But on a serious note, I do think that we have exposed younger generations to all this technology with a little understanding of how to control it. It's like a genie; it's out of the bottle, and I think, you know, we're learning through our own mistakes, and I don't think it's any surprise that the incidence of diagnosis of mental health issues can be aligned to social media use. So I'm not saying social media is a bad thing at all, because I think it's, you know, wonderful and it's very liberating and so on. But I think, like most things, they need to be used in a sensible way and in moderation.
Well, they only need to be heard sometimes. They need to be understood as well, right, Jan?
Like the environment, their surroundings. Maybe they think that their surrounding isn't supportive enough, so they tend to seek validation from the strangers on the internet.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right, Mashanda. I think that we don't engage enough with each other in what I would term an affective way. I mean, you probably know these terms as well as I do, but of course you have you know, the cognitive, the psychomotor, and the affective. And I think the affective way of learning, where you learn from being in physical sort of contact with your peers, your teachers. It involves a whole range of learning through role modeling, and you can't really get that when you're removed, when you're one step removed. I mean, if I was with Assam and I pinched him really hard on the arm, you know, he might go, "Ow! What are you doing?" You know, but I would know that maybe I've hurt Assam, you know. But if I maybe said something online about, you know, "Hey Assam, da 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 da," you know,
something bad about
something,
him.
Yeah, something bad, and I'm completely removed from the affective learning environment, so I don't really know if I've hurt him. I might have hurt Assam very deeply. I might have said something that could, you know, he could go home and feel very upset about that. It might stay with him for weeks, but I wouldn't necessarily know that I'd done that. I might have thought it was something very flippant, but so that, I think we've lost more of that affective learning. So my key message to young people would be, you know, keep talking to each other. Don't just do it online. Actually go together. Go and sit and have a cup of tea together. Talk together, and that's the best way to generate that sense of belonging. Because ultimately, we all want to feel that we belong. And yeah.
But actually, I am grateful. Like, nowadays, people are aware of mental health issues, but we cannot deny that there are a lot of people who don't really care about these matters, right? Especially in school. Like, some people said that, "Oh, you are just a high schooler. What do you know about these things?" Do you have any kind of solution or approach to overcome these issues?
As a teacher,
yeah, there are two things here. One is that for those who say, "Oh, the high schoolers, they, you know, why are you getting so upset? You know, you're young. You shouldn't have any of these issues.
You're so sensitive.
You're too sensitive." Actually, I think we need to understand that actually you are at a time in life where you're feeling everything so strongly, and things can impact you so profoundly that I think we do need to recognise, you know, this isn't something for people in their 20s or their 30s or their 40s. It is actually people, you know, at school, young people at school, and you know, we talked about senior and junior high, but also at elementary as well.
Early.
And I think in terms of solutions, I think it's as professionals, as teachers, what we need to do is provide space and opportunities for us to work together as teams. So provide opportunities to team build, and always make sure that everybody is being included. it's not easy. It's not something easy, and it's not something that training alone can do. You know, we often say, oh, we'll just give them a day's training and then suddenly they're going to be experts in this. Actually, it takes a long time, and I think a lot of it is informed by you know, your upbringing and the kind of character education that I know you know in the Muhammadiyah, you know, the values that inform your whole of your education are so important, because those are the values that you can take forward with you in building those opportunities.
Okay.
That's great. I'm still interested in differentiated
learning.
Differentiated learning.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how to pronounce differentiated learning. Mr. Alex, I thought schools a couple months ago in a program from Kampus Merdeka, which is called Kampus Mengajar. I thought in elementary school students, and I found students there, as you mentioned before, is that some of them are, you know, having dyslexia, and some of them are aggressive, and I still find bullying case happening there. I think that's a lot. I mean, in a lot of schools in Indonesia, I think
We can commonly found that cases of bullying in schools.
Yeah, we even call it 3 biggest sins in education in Indonesia. Tiga dosa besar di Indonesia, salah satunya bullying itu. What do you think about how do you deal with that, sir, in UK? Does it happen too in UK, sir?
It does. It absolutely does. And I think there are a number of things here. Bullying. So we've had the privilege to visit several Muhammadiyah schools, different types of schools. And we've seen all the posters, you know, with the no bullying, and
no bullying.
you know, it's a really. So I can see that there is a real emphasis on this. And in the UK there is too, but it, you know, signs alone aren't going to be enough. It's about changing a culture and a mindset, and it isn't going to be easy. In particular, when schools are short-staffed. I mean, often, and this will be the case in Indonesia, I'm sure, that you will sometimes have maybe, you know, one teacher and 30 children, and trying to say, you know, we need to be changing a culture when you have. So I think it also needs investment, and teaching assistants, for example. There needs to be. But we can also think of creative ways. We could give some of the students more responsibility. Maybe they need more responsibility rather than being told that they're. Maybe it's the ones that we think are the ones maybe bullying. Perhaps we need to give them some responsibility, and say, okay, we want you to be. You know, here's your group. You're responsible for the welfare as a buddy. You know, you need to be looking out for these, and then maybe, you know, maybe that person who was doing the bullying might actually have a sense of responsibility. So I mean, that's the kind of thing that you might sort of want to try. Also, Campus Merdeka, I think, is a really valuable opportunity. I know I've heard differing stories about maybe we don't know exactly what it is, you know, what because it's an emancipated learning philosophy, but I think where a lot more autonomy is put onto the learner, and sometimes students just want to be told what to do. But I think if we can generate a sense of empowerment through individuals' passions for certain topics and certain ideas, I think that can only be a good thing. So I think there is so much opportunity with Campus Merdeka. And then just going back to differentiation, one of the ways that we can do this, in not just in schools but also at university, is think about different ways of assessing students. Yeah, we just kind of think we get everybody to write a 3,000-word essay, and that's it, and that's the way to assess everybody. But maybe there are different ways. You know, for example, there may be some people that you speak to, and boy, when you speak to them, they are amazing. They've got such insight and incredible, and yet when you get them to try and write the 3,000-word essay, they're really struggling.
Right.
So maybe we can be thinking about different ways to help people according to what specific needs they have, and think about maybe the ways that we assess students could be different, or could be a range of different ways to assess them. I mean, I could give you another example if you'd like.
Yeah, it's fine.
How,
We would like
how
to
long
hear.
have you got? So, okay, so a little while ago, and if you're interested, you can find this online. So it's a publication by Robin Shields and myself, Alex Masado. So if you look at Shields and Masado in 2015 or 2017, it was some work we did for the Higher Education Academy in the UK. And what we recognised that there were these two key pathways, vocational and academic. And universities were accepting students on the number of tariff points that they get. So you can build up a number of tariff points doing vocational level study and also academic level study. And the universities were saying, when the students got there, they were saying, it's absolutely the same. We're going to treat you exactly the same. Don't worry, because you've got the number of tariff points. So you're the same students as far as we're concerned. What we were surprised about was that nobody had actually looked at.
What is that? Yeah. Okay.
Nobody had actually looked at the outcomes for the different types of students. So we, drawing on some HESA data sets, so the Higher Education Statistics Council for England, the Higher Education Statistics Authority data. We looked at that data, and we determined that actually all other variables being equal, if you had two students, one with AAB from academic study and one with distinction merit from vocational study, their chances of coming out with a first or a 2-1 were lower in the vocational study. Now, we were surprised that nobody had actually done that research before, but if you had taken just the quantitative data alone, it would have given a deficit model of the students. So somebody could have said, oh, well, they can't achieve at the highest levels because they're vocational students. But we also did some qualitative data with focus groups from different universities and different levels of study, and each member of the focus group had come through a different qualification pathway. And what we found with those qualitative data were that students can achieve at the very highest levels. So in conclusion, it wasn't a deficit model of the vocational students. What the research was pointing to was that universities needed to change the way they thought about students when they came in order to celebrate the different pathways that the students were coming in from. And that might involve looking at different types of assessment, particularly in their first year of study. So if you can see, we've sort of turned it on its head and said it's not because the students can't achieve if they at the highest levels if they come through a vocational route. Rather, it's universities aren't doing enough to differentiate between their learners, and by putting in the right sort of support and the right celebrations of their skill sets, they can achieve at the highest levels.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I think that the way we know that this is the matter of the university, how they can accommodate all the students in their part, right?
Well, I suddenly remember the way I thought students from third grade in elementary school that I've that I was in before in kampus mengajar, there are 3 of them that can't read, that couldn't read, couldn't write even. I mentioned before about dyslexia. One of them had dyslexia, and I taught them about English, right? And I felt guilty because I feel like I left 3 of them. I feel like I ignored them. I only put my attention to students who put attention to me, who responds to me, and I in the end I feel like I should have done something to the 3 of them. That's why I'm interested in differentiate learning method, which is I thought back then before. Sepertinya it seems like it would be really difficult to apply. Have you
Sam, thank you for sharing that with me, because that's like a big revelation, isn't it? Yeah. And I can hear that you've carried that with you, and I think for all of us, there'll be something in our past when we were at school where we think back and think, I wish I'd done that differently. I think maybe with the bullying thing as well. Maybe there are times when we think back and we think, God, I wish that I'd stood up for somebody when I saw something happening, rather than just being standing by and letting it happen. So I think that's a lovely thing to say, that to think about your own responsibility in your peers' learning as well, and part of that is making them feel comfortable, because they are linked. That you were talking about the reading and the writing, and then we were talking about bullying earlier, and yet they are linked, because how can we learn if we don't feel safe in the environment that's supposed to be a nurturing environment? So I think these 2 things are linked, and I think all of us have a responsibility to look out for each other. And Assam, that was, I'm really proud of you for sharing that. And I'm sure I could share lots of things that I've been in a similar situation where I haven't done something and then regretted it later. But I think that's such an important thing. So I agree with you entirely, Assam. We should be looking out for all our colleagues, and maybe we need to do more of that peer learning, peer buddying, teamwork.
So we will take a look first at comment section in YouTube channel. So we're doing live streaming in YouTube, right? Okay. And it seems like comment. Ada komen ya guys?
Questions.
Okay. So what's that?
Oh yeah, teman-teman, kalau ada yang mau bertanya, if you guys have any questions to Mr. Alex personally, silahkan komen di YouTube-nya ya.
Oh, I didn't thank all the people who are listening.
Gak connect, Pak. Wifi saya error. Ada mungkin Derli bisa bacakan pertanyaannya, Derli? Oke.
From Ahmad Rambo.
Oke. Wah, sudah banyak juga nih 15. Jaya selalu PBUAD. Jaya. Oke, ada from Brother Toha. Where on earth does school start at 5 or 6 a.m.? I told you it's on. Yeah, I can mention the name.
Yeah, but it's happening.
It happened. It's on the news. It was on the news.
Everyone was talking about it, right, Azam?
Ya Allah. Oke, ini ada pertanyaan dari Ahmad Rambi. Anyway, is the term intercultural communication relevant for the communication involving various cultures from one country, example Indonesia, or it necessarily includes various cultures from different countries? Thanks.
Wow, great. That's a great question. So I'll just start with Toha. Yes, there are people that start at like 6 in the morning. I know it's crazy. I don't agree with it either. They should stop that. It's so unfair. But secondly, is it Ahmed and intercultural communication? That's a wonderful question, and one of the things that I've been realizing more and more in my time lecturing at university is the importance of developing cultural literacies with our students. And we can do this in a whole range of ways. In fact, the project that we've just been carrying out with our UK students and UAD, so University of Gloucestershire and UAD, is specifically based on developing those competencies, being able to, I think it's being humble in one's own knowledge. I think that's kind of key, because we all tend to think we know everything and the way we see the world is the right way. But when we talk to people, I think learning takes place when we're most challenged. And I think that's good. And when our students have worked with your students and they've been embedded completely in an Islamic context, that's been so healthy for our students to learn about that. And I think, I hope the feeling has been mutual. So we've really benefited, and that has allowed us to have to generate a cultural literacy that will empower all of those students in friendship, but also, as I say, just recognise the limits of their own assumptions. And I think that there is a lifelong learning, and I learn as much from my students as they do from me, I can assure you, each day. And one of them, so it's been a real privilege for me to work with your students as well as my own. And I think just in response to Ahmed's question again around intercultural communication, I do think that that you have lots of these mobility schemes where students can get to travel to different countries in the world and they can engage with, but that costs money, and not everybody has money. And if we're thinking, it's very expensive to take a flight and to take 10 students or 20 students halfway across the world. So I do think that the virtual exchange or collaborative online international learning can be an incredibly powerful tool, not just at university, but also in schools. And when I get back home, I'm going to be working with one of my PhD students who's now successfully completed her studies. Her name is Katie Cook, and she's just looked at using complexity theory in school improvement, but she's also a head teacher. And we're hoping to set up an opportunity for elementary school students to also work together virtually to enhance those intercultural communication skills. And then we shall let you know how that goes.
Yeah, that's right. So,
no question anymore? No question? Okay, belum ada question lagi, guys. Okay. Now suddenly I have pop-out question in my head, Mr. Alex. Do you think it's okay to be friends with your students? I mean,
Oh, that's a really good question.
Yeah, your students don't see you as a teacher and as a friend, as a mentor.
They talk casually with you.
What do you think about it? Because I've once applied this to the students that I've taught before in kampus mengajar, and some of them even be more like, there is no respect, I guess. Call me Azam.
The boundaries
is the boundaries is gone. There is no boundaries anymore. So what do you think about that?
Okay, sir? I think there are two things here. One is that in terms of respect, I don't think that you necessarily lose respect by... Let me start the other way. So I think that what we've realized more and more is that students are co-creators of knowledge. They are our partners in the learning process rather than just teacher and student. I think we do see ourselves more as partners in the learning process. Now, I think that doesn't mean that there aren't professional boundaries. I think that's very important, and we're very careful to keep those professional boundaries. But I think that there are different levels of respect, and so again, I think there are cultural differences as well, and I think we need to respect those. But we do certainly, I think, we have much more of a easygoing relationship.
Yeah.
We certainly like to think, particularly at University of Gloucestershire, that our students can feel. We want them to feel that they can come and talk to us if they have an issue. In fact, what we do there is we have what's called a personal tutor system. So when students first start at university, they get assigned one member of staff that they will have as a sort of a mentor, but somebody that they can go to. Now the member of staff won't have all the answers, and they're not trained counsellors, but what they will do is be able to help and signpost the student if they're struggling or if they're having problems. So there would be an expectation that that member of staff would meet and discuss things confidentially. So in the learning process, I mean, we like to have fun in the classroom, but not to the point where you lose where the boundaries kind of are completely gone. But we do like to. I think we like to provide a safe space where they feel comfortable to talk and open up about issues, because I think with most social issues, contemporary social issues, they tend to be quite divisory these days, and I think social media has a lot to do with that. And so people fall down on one side or the other. Everything is either black or it's white, and that's not a very healthy way to enhance academic practice, because academic practice is the nuance that lies in between the black and the white, between what one person thinks is right and one person thinks is wrong. And so I think by having a safe environment where people don't feel that they're going to be judged if they say the wrong thing, particularly with the culture wars and cancel culture, it's even more important that students feel that they're able to counter an argument, and if people think that it's not what they think, then let's have a discussion about it, and we can start to understand why. Because ultimately, everybody has a legitimate claim to knowledge. No one person has a claim on something being right. If people are saying countering something, then let's try and understand why.
So we got a question.
The question?
Oh.
May I read it?
Read it first.
Okay. So this is a question from Afik. Afik Yusuf. So, how is the parental engagement in students learning in UK? Okay,
Great question, Afik.
Great question, Afik.
Hey. And he deserves a clap.
That is a great.
That's a good question, Afik.
Okay, so this is about how parents engage in students' learning process in the UK.
Okay, so what we have come to realise, I mean, ever since there was something in the 1960s called the Coleman Report. It was a big study in the United States that was done, and it, for the first time, it really recognised how important the learning and education was, not just within school, but perhaps more importantly, what was happening in the home, because that helps to determine outcomes for students. So ever since then, there have been different sort of initiatives and so on, but we now know that parents' engagement, and this isn't just mothers, this is also fathers. We know that fathers, their engagement in their children's learning, whether that's sitting down when children are young and reading a story to them, this can really enhance their learning skills, their learning abilities. So we know parental engagement is really important. How to do that successfully? Well, we also know that a lot of the parents that are engaged tend to be the types of parents that will be more involved anyway in perhaps attending more of their parents' evenings, being engaged with the school. So the question is, how do we reach those other parents? How do we get them involved? And I think in order to do that, we need to understand some of the reasons why they might not be involved themselves. That they may, they may have had a very bad time at school themselves, so they may not want to be. They may feel scared of authority going into the schools. They may not have good subject knowledge of the discipline, so they may not feel that they can help their children directly. So I think it's incumbent on schools to help to find different ways to engage parents. And if parents won't come to the school, let the school go to the parents, and let's find ways to go out into the communities. So there's for those who are interested, there's some very great research by a colleague of mine, an ex-colleague of mine, where I used to work at the University of Bath, called Janet Goodall. And Janet's done some incredible work around parental engagement, and she sees it as she's helped us move from thinking about parental involvement, which is just purely sort of going to the school and the sort of the functional aspects of being involved with a child's schooling, attending trips and so on, to actually engaging in their learning. And then we're also, there's a move more to think about community learning, because ultimately it isn't just about parents. Children have so many different actors in their lives, their grandparents, their siblings, so their peers. So it's about recognizing, there's that old adage that says it takes a village to raise a child, and I think that's true. So it's not just parents, but also the communities. So I think we need to be branching out.
We can't even read it, sir. Send it.
Does that help answer your? It was Afik. So I'm hoping that answers some of Afik's questions about parental engagement.
So I think that's interesting, because I know that the parents' engagement in learning process is more like shaping the students, like making them feel safe at home so that they can continue to learn in the school.
Yeah, and sometimes it's very difficult for children. They may have very hectic home lives. They may have homes that aren't conducive to working. When they come home and do homework. So I'll give you an example just from my own life. I because I've got 4 sisters, and when I was growing up, we lived in quite a relatively small home, so it was always a bit crazy. So after school, I would walk down to my local library, and I would go and do my homework there. That might sound a bit geeky to a lot of you, but it was like a little safe haven, and I felt I could just focus on my doing my homework.
Are you the older ones?
No, I'm right in the middle, so I'm very I think I had it easy. I think oldest children get it the worst than the youngest.
So, okay, ada question lagi. Ada question lagi dari Berli. Berli. Now we are in an era full of digital developments which have become commonplace, with many school children already having gadgets. Of course, this is understandable because as time goes by, there will be many developments in it. The question is, what do you think is the role of technology in improving the quality of education? And while many people out there who were born in the 70s until 80s, even think digital is not good.
Yeah, well, I can give you, yes. So let me give you an example. So my daughter Fanny, she's living in France, and she was born in 1989, and so she was one of the first really to grow up with the tech in a completely different way to the way that certainly that I did. And I remember, when she was a teenager, there was something that she would SMS, and it would all be texting, and they would have their own language, and it was anyway. The reason I mention her is because, from somebody who has been grown up with all that technology, she now she's 34. She's rejected a lot of that technology, and she's actually living now in centre of France with like-minded people who are they grow all their own food. They sort of live out their ideas. She hasn't completely stopped using technology, but it's she might look every week at her texts rather than every day and every second living on your phone. So I'm really proud of her. Every time I go down to visit, she teaches me something else about the environment and the importance of they're working on edible forests, their sustainable living. And when I first met some of her friends, it was so lovely to see, really the very, very intelligent, bright young people who have made a conscious decision to move out of that, where digital just takes over their whole lives. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud of them. And but they what was interesting is that they were drawing on some of the education theory that I was looking at. Ivan Illich, for example, back in the I was reading when I was a student. So it's nice to see that some of those things have come around again, and work on de-schooling. So I think it's always good to to revisit and to always take stock of what we're doing rather than just accept this is the way the world has to be. So that's one thing. I think in terms of technology, artificial intelligence, of course, is really changing the face of everything that we do, everything. And I think we need to approach that cautiously, particularly for students who are now utilising it to help them with their work. Let's not pretend artificial intelligence isn't here. That would be a silly thing to do. But let's use it wisely. So if students are going to, for example, just put in the question they've been asked to write about, and then something comes out at the other end, in like minutes, and then they work backwards from that to sort of create an assignment. That's not going to help anybody. What you need to do is use AI productively. So, start with your question, start with what it is you want to do, and then maybe use AI to help you generate some of the
ideas.
Rather than the idea, maybe some of the resources. Who's been writing in that field, and then then go and have a look at that work yourself, because just having a stream of references, some of which are non-existent, is not going to help at all. So I think it's important. But if it can point you in the right direction, go and engage then with that work. What my fear is that it will de-skill. So in the same way that in the past, everybody knew how to read a map, a physical map, and you would look on it, and you would when you were driving, you would be looking out for road signs, and you would have an innate sense of direction. Whereas once you had GPS, you just put in the code and it'll take you, turn right, turn left, go on, and suddenly, so in a way you're being de-skilled. So I think it's important that we don't, in the rush to sort of utilize AI, let's not de-skill ourselves.
We shouldn't rely too much on.
Ya, tuh teman-teman, AI holic yang lagi nonton, AI holic, AI addict, kalian semua use it wisely, please, alright?
Okay.
Don't depend on AI too much, man. Make your own ideas and ask them for sources, not for the ideas. Kayak ngomong sama diri sendiri. Okay.
We have another question from.
Lalapot. Allah Akbar, yeah.
So, how can individuals develop and enhance their cultural intelligence for effective intercultural communication?
How can they do that?
How can individuals develop and enhance?
Develop and enhance. Okay. Good question. Develop and enhance. I think talk to different people. Welcome. There is that unity in diversity that is part of Merdeka Belajar, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. So there's that saying unity in diversity, and I do think that's true. That the more that we can speak to people from different cultures and different backgrounds, we can learn so much. But also think about the different types of knowledges. That's something that we're doing now in the UK more and more. I think that we have up until very recently been giving when we give our reference lists to our students, they're very Western-centric reading lists often, and I think that we can be doing much more to share the academic work that is going on here in Indonesia. For example, there's some really great research being undertaken, but because it's not in English language journals, our students aren't necessarily engaging or reading it, so we don't know about it. So I think this is a way that is it Lollipop? Lollipop. That may not answer your question, but I think that we need to be doing this at a number of different levels, not just at the individual level, but also at the institutional level. We can be thinking about, drawing on different knowledges. So when I'm hoping that we will have some publications arising from the work that myself and Maria Meredith are doing with colleagues here at UAD. But I hope that we will also be able to publish in Indonesian journals as well, so we can, in Bahasa as well as in English, and that way you can spread the love, spread the knowledge.
We can understand and comprehend it well. So I think that the key points of individuals so that they can develop and enhance their cultural intelligence is the key point is like we have to be open to another culture, and we have to understand every differences around us.
Yeah, I think so, because I think that by doing that, it's not just maybe more. Yes, you get to understand a different culture and you understand different ways of thinking, but I think there's something more important than that, and that is that by doing that, you're better able to understand your own context. And I think that's quite an important thing to recognise, because then that can you don't have to change. Nobody has to change their way of thinking by taking on board everybody else's way, but by looking outside what you can, and that goes for all of us. Looking outside of our cultural norms, we can then understand our own culture better and maybe respond in a more nuanced way within our own cultural setting. We don't have to lose any of our own values or any of our own culture. I think it's important that we hang on to it. One thing I fear with Merdeka, it's not a fear, but I think the learning of English, for example, is becoming mandatory in 2024. And while that's that to be welcomed in some respects, let's be careful, because we don't want you to lose your not just Bahasa Indonesian, but of course you have a wealth of cultural diversity within Indonesia. So when we say let's Lollipop get you asked a very important question, and how do we develop that? Well, it's not just looking externally outside of Indonesia, but also within Indonesia, and celebrating all the different cultures and languages and diverse history that you have within your own country, which is actually Indonesia is an amazing country, just full of Indonesia Raya.
Proud to hear that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I agree with Mr. Alex. We have to embrace, by knowing other cultures, we can understand our own cultures better. Because I've been in Iran. In 2019 until 2020.
Amazing. what a great opportunity and great experience.
Yeah, I've been there for like a year, and I've learned a lot of cultures there, such as about the mostly about the religion side, and I think it's new insight for me. Ya begitulah, itu aja.
And
Itu aja.
for me, I think that I have a new experience similar to Azam, but I only experienced for 1 month. Last month I went to Thailand.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
I joined an internship program where I teach the elementary students there. And maybe it's same to Azam. It's wonderful, and it gives me a lot of insight, and of course the experience is the most important thing.
Do you know, I've just thought of something. You've made me think of something, and that's a good. That's good. That's how it should work, and that is the importance of working with people who have different ideas and different cultures and different backgrounds. I think with my students, sometimes when we do group work, they don't like group work. They hate group work. But I keep pushing it because I think group work is so important. And one of the things I used to do a lot more was to get, when people disagreed with each other, I used to get those people to work in the same groups.
Oh, right.
Because I just thought, if you are going to have to rationalise an argument, then get people who disagree on the argument to work together, because actually they're going to have to come out with some form of consensus or agree to disagree, but at least explain why. So I think that's the best kind of form of group work that you can do with students.
We should.
I'm not being mischievous.
We should have a plan where students who tend to have an argument together, so that they could find a way how to,
To apply to people.
both of their ideas.
Yeah, and it's lovely to hear that you both had those opportunities and experiences. To go to Iran and to go to Thailand. That's wonderful.
Any question again, guys? Mungkin in this room? No, Kaisha?
Do you have any question, Kaisha?
Sir, Mr. Rifai sent me a request. He said, you can ask for comparison between UK and Indonesia.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of things earlier, and maybe we can give you some of our experiences.
Yeah.
So tell you about our experiences in Indonesia.
Do you want me to tell you about some of my experiences in Indonesia?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you tasted gudeg already?
This is. Yesterday evening we went. I don't know what the name of the street is, but it should be called Gudeg Street, because there were so many.
Yeah. Gudeg Street.
There were so many. The whole street was just full.
Full of
gudeg.
Yeah, Gudeg. Yeah.
Gudeg addict.
Yeah. Is that a Gudeg addict?
Okay. Do you like it, sir?
Yeah, I really like Indonesian food.
It's sweet though.
It is sweet, but I quite like sweet.
Okay.
I like sweet food, and but I like the range of food. So what I do need to start by saying is that I've only been to Java. So I haven't been to anywhere.
Sumatra,
Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't had a chance, and I won't have a chance because not this time. Because even when I finish working with colleagues at UAD, I'm going to because my wife Hilary has joined me now, and we're going to have a little go and have a little tour.
Yeah, full time.
But we're thinking, why do we need to go off to where there's so much in Java that we can explore? And then we're going to work our way north and then head to Cirebon, because I'm going to go and give a talk at the would you say a sister university or a brother university? How would you describe them? But it's another Muhammadiyah university. Yeah, in Cirebon. So I'm really looking forward to finding out more about Cirebon and the surrounding areas.
I personally haven't been there.
Dari Cirebon, Afik Cirebon. Bukan. Cirebon, nice. You should come to other places too, sir. Sumatra or
maybe,
Palembang.
but maybe another. You're from Sumatra. I've heard that Sumatra is beautiful too. But maybe another. It will have to be another time. But we're hoping to set up. If we can, we would like to set up a biannual, so every other year, a trip, an international trip with some of my students, myself and Maria Meredith, and then we could bring them here.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. And just you were asking about some of the things that have been really important to me. What do you know? The greatest thing of all for me is, this is meeting your lovely, colleagues, so your lecturers and stuff, but also the students, is your sense of humour.
Okay.
I honestly have loved. You make me laugh all the time. Every day I have laughed since I've been in Indonesia, and so that's a really uplifting feeling. Makes me feel good.
We're glad to hear that, sir. You've been with Kaisha as well, no? Or with who? Kaisha.
Yeah.
Do you accompany Mr. Alex?
Yeah.
But not all the time.
Oh, not all the
No,
time.
but we had a podcast, didn't we?
Oh.
Yeah, we did a podcast.
Kaisha.
Yeah.
Podcast. And on the side.
Was it a
Awesome.
podcast? Or am I getting mixed up?
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Well, glad to hear that you like Indonesia. Yeah, well, you should visit other places as well, sir.
Yeah.
Because we are have a lot of diversities, and that's the interesting part of it.
Oh, one thing I would say though, and this links to the importance of, because of course when you leave your universities and so it's important that you get jobs and good careers, and I'm imagining that you two will go into journalism because you're very good at this. What subjects are you studying?
Yeah, journalism.
Journalism. Oh, well, there we go.
Interesting.
Oh, so you're perfect. That's going to be great.
Well, actually,
What?
I found a bit, when I talk to Chacha, my English is kind of, it's smooth and stuff, it's smooth. But when I meet you, the native one, it's a bit stuck. I don't know what to say. God.
No, it's very smooth.
Maybe because we are nervous.
Yeah.
Talking about journalism, I personally have been interested in this field, so I joined a journalism extracurricular when I was in high school, and in college too. I take the focus on journalism.
Do you know, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. And this is something we can talk about afterwards, but I have a colleague at University of Gloucestershire who teaches journalism.
Oh, she?
Yeah, and her name's Victoria Temple. So let's get you talking.
Oh.
And see what you can come up with.
Oh my God, it was.
Yeah,
it
maybe
must
maybe
be
there's something you can do with the
wonderful.
students in terms of journalism.
Well, journalism in this in PBI, journalism mostly, the output, the task is just to make podcasts like this, or we will make news. We're making documentary videos. So it's just like
Very
that.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess one of the key things then is that you do it yourself. Don't let somebody else do it for you, because
That's good.
A lovely colleague of mine, Bu Ega, who I've been working with on the British Council project. She took us to a bookshop the other day. It was an English language bookshop. And I did buy some books, including a cookery book. I've got 2 Indonesian cookery books. But one of the lovely children's books, it said, I think it was called All About Indonesia. It's a lovely book, but it was by, good on her, but it was by a Western lady called Linda somebody, and I was thinking, why aren't you doing your own books? You should be doing that, and maybe that's something as students you could be thinking about, being more practical in the types of outputs and being creative. But don't let anybody else do it for you. Do it yourself.
Word. Don't let anybody else do it. Do it yourself.
DIY.
But if Linda's out there listening, it's a great book. Don't no problem.
Tulisan dokter.
I can't even
Tulisan
write.
dokter. Okay. Mr. Alex. I'm interested about how do we get there to University of Gloucestershire? Gloucestershire,
okay.
right?
UOG.
Yeah. How
Would you mind telling us how do we get there? So, I mean, the requirements or.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is there
okay.
any opportunity for us?
That's okay. That's an interesting question. Okay, I don't want to put anybody on the spot here. I don't know who's listening, but one way to start. I genuinely don't know who's listening, but it would be nice to talk to the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, because they do have certain universities on lists that. So there are where you're able to apply for funding, but it would be wonderful if we could get UOG on the list, and then maybe we could take more, and then we can think about funding opportunities for doctoral study in particular, but because I think doctoral study is where you can really make a big impact, and in terms of whichever discipline you're studying from, and it would be great to have more opportunities like that.
Well, saya jadi ingat.
But there is there are funding bodies available. So do also as students be looking out for the different types of funding that is available.
Funding. It's like beasiswa, scholarship, no?
Scholarship.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Oke, ini ada pertanyaan lagi. Apa sama dan bedanya makanan? Oh, mahasiswa. Alright. So you've been in Indonesia for like a couple of days, for weeks.
So now I've nearly been here 4 weeks. We left the UK on the 6th of June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lama berarti sih.
Yeah. So this is a great opportunity for me. Luckily, Maria and I had done most of our teaching in semester 1, so we were able to come a little bit earlier than.
You have a chance to teach YD students also?
Oh yeah. Been doing some teaching here. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So, is there any similarities or differences that you found in YD students with UK students?
Oh yes, I think all students, it's difficult to get, it's really important to get students motivated. And we've given lots of talks. We've given lots and lots of talks since we've been here to different departments. But the one thing that Maria and I have been really keen to do is engage the attendees. So we have tried to find different ways to get them to talk to each other. Sometimes it's just been, talk to the person next to you and then feedback. But it's so important that it's a two-way process, not just us sitting at the front talking to you, because I think that way otherwise everybody's going to be by the end of it they're going to be falling asleep. So we need to it's got to be active and engaged.
Yeah, that's good. Jadi itu caranya supaya engage sama audiens di kelas, guys. Itu ajak ngomong. Komunikasi dua arah. Jadi bukan satu arah doang yang ngomong.
Harus aktif.
Yeah. Well, I like the way you present at the MPBI, though. The present with Mr. Surono and Miss Maria as well. A couple of days ago, I guess, at Friday.
Oh, so did you attend that?
I've been there.
Was that the STEM one? Was it the no?
Magister of, yeah.
Oh, it was that one. Oh, good. Oh, I'm very pleased to hear that you came.
I've been there and
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The way you present it is just fascinating, and I was into it. Yeah,
That's good to
thank you.
hear. Thanks, Hassan.
I was unable to attend it because I have full schedule that day and Friday.
Yeah.
But I really want to attend that actually, but I don't have any opportunity to do
Well,
that.
do you know, it didn't matter because we ended up having all
Yeah,
this time together.
Maybe I can ask Azam after this about what did you get there.
Yeah, well, it's about comparison, curriculum comparison between UK and, well, yeah. Anyway,
So it's similar like what we have talked.
yeah, we all talking about. Okay.
there
No more question on YouTube, guys? Seems like it, no? Okay. Well, Chacha, is you got any questions? You got any agendas after this, sir?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm going to go to Merapi.
Oh.
Yeah, this
Mountain.
afternoon. Yeah. In the
With
afternoon.
Maria, with your wife as
No,
well?
with not Maria, unfortunately, but I'm going to go with my wife, Hilary.
Oh.
We were going to go to Prambanan,
Oh,
Prambanan.
but it's closed on a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to go and take a jeep and go wild in Merapi.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah. Have fun, sir. Have fun. Nanti Prambanan tuh, it's fascinating as well, though.
Yeah.
After Prambanan, you go to Merapi.
No,
Brahman
Prambanan
is
shut on a
closed.
Monday.
Yeah, it's closed
Yeah.
on Monday.
Oh.
So they cannot go there.
Okay. Merapi, yeah. Yes. You
I-
want to climb or?
We cannot climb Merapi, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's an active mountain.
Oh,
We
yes,
cannot
definitely.
go there.
There's eruptions. There's eruptions.
We can see
Actually,
it.
that's on a serious point. UOG and UAD Wadi have been working together since 2017. So it's not just me. We've been doing a lot of work together. The business school at UOG were working with you here at UAD on a Erasmus project around disaster management. So if anybody's interested, there is a whole body of work and research that's already been done. You made me think of it with the volcano, because of course that's something that we wouldn't think about in any of our schools. We don't need to think about, because we take being safe for granted. But of course here, we're very aware of what happened in 2006, for example, and it's so important that that students are aware of what to do if there's a disaster, volcano or earthquake. So those are the kind of things our students don't. It wouldn't even be on their radar. But of course, it's so important here, and your wonderful counselling and guidance service as well. It's also part of their curriculum, and of course, when things go wrong, there may be bereavements or so on. And it's important that they're able to deal with the trauma that happens afterwards. So, sorry, back on a serious note.
Well, it's okay. Since you mentioned about volcano and eruption, I'm wondering. Saya penasaran. I'm wondering about what natural
Natural disaster that maybe happened there.
Yeah, in UK, such as tornado.
The concerning things.
Well, flooding. Yeah, there's more flooding now than there ever was before due to climate change. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot more flooding. We've seen it in particularly the last 20 years. I think we've seen an enormous change, and lots of villages that used to be very safe, villages and towns, now get flooded on a regular basis. Not so much the big tornadoes, but we do have them. There are tornadoes now in the most unexpected places. There was one in the Cotswolds, and it took the roofs off some of the houses.
Some houses.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in tornadoes? Have you ever seen?
Yes, I have, but in Canada.
Oh, not in UK.
Yeah, not in the UK.
That's interesting. I'm interested.
So we actually never been experienced like tornado, but I think a few months ago we.
It is small, like.
But it's like terrifying. Right?
Yeah.
Because we haven't experienced something like that before, but it happened in Indonesia all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
I forget where is it.
It's not in Jogja.
Jawa Barat,
Yeah,
right?
in West Java.
Yeah, West Java.
Okay, this is a question from Mr. Rifaiza. How do you manage your relation with your children to make them successful in their life?
Oh, that's ongoing. That's an ongoing project with children. It never stops.
Yeah, right.
Bagus lagi jawabannya.
Yeah, you think when they grow up, it's gonna, but I'm joking here because it's a lovely way. We have five. Hillary and I have 5 children, and we now have 7 grandchildren. So when the 2 youngest were little, I stayed at home and looked after them, and Hillary was working at the hospital. So I was a very hands-on father.
That's good.
And I think that being a role model like that has also our children also are very hands-on. I think they share the care and the work a lot. So there is a lot of shared care within our children's families, which is nice to see, and we think very healthy. And our grandchildren are a real blessing. I mean, a real blessing. And every time I see them, my heart fills up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. I've heard this quote before in one of the video that I watched on TikTok. When you are successful is when you are called dad.
That's a lovely quote. I think you're right.
I think I'm on the way. I'm in that.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
I'm on the way to be called dad.
Oh, really? That's a big revelation on radio.
I haven't finished my undergraduate studies. Well, anyway, you got a question, Chacha?
But success is not just about being. Please remember this, all those listening. Success isn't about being famous, having lots of money. Success is being loved. Really. That's true.
That's deep.
and love, and being able to love, that's real success in life. So do remember that. Try never to have ruptures with your families, and always just keep talking. If you get angry with your brother or your sister, don't fall out with them forever. Just make it up.
Yeah, life happens.
Yeah.
My sister watching.
Okay, that's a good statement, sir. Thank you, sir. You got a question, Chacha?
So I don't. It's not really a question though, but I realized that from our conversation earlier, so that I know that the family is the most important part of someone's life journey. Their how they grow up. It depends on how they are in the family, how the family in the house taken care of them. It's like the family take the most important roles in someone's life. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think family and families, because I think it are core to people's lives. And when I say family and families, I think in the past we would always talk about the family as if there was a particular structure and something that we knew that defined the family.
Right.
But I think it's better to take away the article and just talk about family and families, because of course family is made up of so many different types. It's so diverse. For example, I feel there may be people living alone who don't have children, or maybe don't have a wife or a husband or what, but they may have a dog or a cat,
right.
and they may rely on that cat for the the warmth and affection and that sort of the love that comes from an animal that they don't require anything in return. It's and so I think we need to extend our conception of what family means, and it may be that their family might consist of very, very close friends through life that you have throughout life.
Agreed.
So I don't think it always necessarily has to be the genetic, biological, and we may have children, stepchildren from different families, so they may not be related by blood, but they may, and so families are made up of so many different, it's in so many different ways. And just to put in a shameless plug now for, I'm an associate editor of Journal of Family Studies, so if anyone's interested, it's a great journal, please read it.
Read it, guys. So the family comes in many forms.
Family matters. Asik.
Yeah, family matters. Good.
Family
That's very good.
matters.
In fact, there used to be, because I know Australia is one of your neighbours, but there was a very, very good publication. I think it was a monthly publication. I can't remember now, but it was produced by the Australian Institute for Family Studies. So it's another plug. It's a great. They do some really great research, but their publication, it was called Family Matters.
Yeah.
And it'll still be online, I'm sure. This you can get hold of.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Alex, for amazing, a lot of insight from you today from this conversation. I hope the listeners there are also enjoying this, are also having a new insights. Ya guys, semoga sesi ini bermanfaat buat kalian semua. Thank you so much, Mr. Alex.
Thank you, Sam.
I would like to say happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
I saw on my friend's story
Yeah.
that you celebrate your anniversary with your wife.
Yeah.
That's so lovely.
I think this Merapi session would be your anniversary too, right?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a post wedding anniversary exciting trip. We actually last night we went for a walk up towards the Kraton and the palace, but we took all the little side streets. So we wanted to discover, rather than just being taxied everywhere, we wanted to. We walked and found. Discovered all the back streets, and it was really exciting. And then on the way back, we took what are the little you can sit inside them, not the cycles, but the like a little motorbike. And
Dokar.
Motorbike car. And anyway, we sat in the front, and that was. And I think that's the first time I've taken one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know, it sounds crazy, but that's the first time I've been in one. Yeah. So that was really exciting.
So Jogja at night is lively.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's a
really
lot of
beautiful.
people there.
Yeah.
And the night comes.
All right, I think that's all for today,
Okay.
Mr. Alex.
Can I also just thank Assam Mashanda, thank you so much for inviting me. And also thank you to anybody who's been listening, and those lovely questions as well, and for making my trip here so special. And this is just hopefully the start of a longer term relationship.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Alex, for the closing statements.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. It's a pleasure to meet you today. I'm so happy to get this new experience talking with you. Yeah, I feel honored.
Oke, terima kasih teman-teman yang sudah menonton. Jangan lupa like, comment, dan subscribe. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye bye.